double big lineup seems like it's about to go away. Grant Williams, is he ever going to play? And why Robert Williams sounds like me on a Sunday morning and not in a good way. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team. Step back, we gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Rainy J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every day with a free, fresh podcast drop directly to the devices of subscribers, so make sure you're one of those subscribers. Open up your favorite podcasting app, subscribe. When the show drops, you get the podcast. That's how it works. You can also do the same thing on YouTube, ring the bell, get notified when a video drops. There you can hop into the comment section, let us know what you think, fight with the Miami Heat fans, who 99% of them have come in and be like, oh, I told you so. So it's been a kind of crazy, obnoxious comment section there. That's how it goes after losses. And then after the Celtics win the series, they just disappear until next year's Eastern Conference Finals, where, of course, it's going to be Celtics and Miami again. Doesn't matter how. It's just going to be the case. I'm John Karalis. I used to play. Now I write and talk about the Celtics. My writing's at BostonSportsJournal.com. Later on in the show, this is all just kind of like things I didn't get to in my crazy haze of 3 a.m. podcasting after game one. I didn't get into the Jayson Tatum fourth quarter. That's something we're going to have to talk about. Robert Williams at practice and the double big lineup and Joe Mazzulla's comments about the double big lineups. Oh, I don't think those are going to last long. Let's just start all there, and we'll do it with Tom Westerholm. By the way, today's show brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA there, Tom. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnNBA, they're going to give you a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. How about that?
For me?
For you.
Yes.
If you use the promo code
Okay.
LockedOnNBA.
All right.
But they'll send you one. Yeah.
Pretty good.
But you got to buy the Bird Dog shorts.
All right.
But
All right.
You're going to love them.
Is there another but?
No, that's it.
Okay,
but you're going to love them.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great.
I didn't love game one. There
it goes. What a transition.
There you go. Didn't love. Yeah, right away, one of the things I didn't love was, I hate to say this, but didn't love Robert Williams right away, which is weird because on offense, I should say, on offense, I loved him. Cutting down, the lobs, that part of Rob was great. Defensively, though, for the first time, I think ever, Rob was giving back every bucket that he scored on the other end. It felt like, because he was just being so incredibly not aggressive. And I asked him about it today. I was like, it was hard for me not to ask it this way. But I was like, was there a reason why you were kind of just letting guys shoot? Was there some sort of defensive strategy here? Because you didn't challenge a lot of shots. And he's like, yeah, guys try to always get me up in the air and get me to bite on fakes. So, I was trying to stay down. It sounds like the coaches were like, damn it, Rob, stay on your feet. And so he went the complete extreme way. Oh, he stayed on his feet and he didn't challenge anything. I honestly believe that first quarter defense from him and from others was so passive that's what got everybody going. And that's what allowed the third quarter to happen, because those guys were very comfortable, and it took the Celtics massive kind of awesome end of the second quarter to build a lead. But if they had defended with any sort of vigor, let's say at the beginning, it might have been a much bigger lead at the half.
It was funny isn't quite the right word, because that's a little unkind to Rob. I mean, he just he sounded so down today, like post film session. I kind of felt bad for him. I thought like literally the first questions, were like just your basic, right? Like how do things look on film? It's like the first question that anybody gets, post a game, like how things look on film. Let's like break the ice a little bit. And Rob goes, it looked exactly like it looked last night. Long film session, nothing much more to say. Like, what'd you learn? A lot of stuff you don't want to see. A lot of hurtful things. Like
hurtful things.
It's
hurtful
that bad?
Things.
Like sheesh, Rob, are you okay?
He was not okay. I feel like Rob was just like everybody was berating him. It's like one of those like TV scenes where you cut to everybody just being like really deep, like come on, Rob, like that kind of like extreme close up, like, and Rob just going like, oh, okay, I'll jump. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah,
he was forlorn, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, and like, look, I think you're onto something. I think you're right that Mazzulla probably might be a little excited to not excited, but might be not upset about the opportunity to go away from the double big lineup. But like, I still think that Rob just in this series, to me, like just schematically, it just feels like he makes so much more sense than he did in the last series. If I were Mazzulla, which I'm very clearly not, I would probably be a little bit more hesitant to yank Rob out of the starting lineup right away, just because like this Heat team, like on paper, is a great team for Robert Williams to play against. They, like there's so many good places for him to be, so many opportunities to roam, so many opportunities on the offensive end, to be a lob threat, to, kind of break things down in the middle of that defense. Like there's opportunities for him. And obviously he can still do some of that stuff coming off the bench, but yeah, I mean, not a hurtful game one, apparently.
Yeah. That's something that, I wonder how vehement they were about all of this stuff, because I think Rob takes things to heart. Like he really, really takes this stuff to heart. And so it's interesting to see him kind of look the way he did. Rob's the most honest guy on the team. Like he's literally, everyone else I feel like is throwing canned answers at us. And Rob's just like, in his awesome Southern drawl, mumbly way, just being like pure. He's like the most pure of heart guy on the team. I still feel like this is the classic Celtics script, right? Game one, fumble because whatever reason. If I'm being generous, I'm saying, well, they just came off the Philly series. Philly is a slow down team. The Celtics are used to playing a certain way. You play 7 games against the team. You're used to playing at a certain speed. And what's the analogy I always make when you're going from one type of play style to another? It's when you're facing a junk ball pitcher in baseball, and then the guy throws 95, comes in, and it feels like he's throwing 105. You can argue that that's kind of what you saw in game one. If we're being generous, if we're being the other end and being like jaded, cynical, we can be like, these guys always start slow. They're always, messing around, and, this is what you expect. Either way, game 2 is a more focused game. And game 2 for me is always just, hey, I think I said this against Philly. Just do what you do, but do it well. How about do it well? Let's try this. Do everything exactly the same from game 1, except try.
Better.
Try. Do it better. Because the defense that I'm looking at, and it's going to be part of my Boston Sports Journal piece for the morning, is like using 3 clips from the first quarter, and half speed is generous for what you're going to see. Like Jayson Tatum came out, and like Gabe Vincent's coming around a screen, and Tatum's just like, okay, I'm going to hold my hand up. Like, come on, man. Like, there's no challenge at all. Nothing. So
Jaylen Brown said they played too cool.
They did play too cool. They were slow. There was no urgency. Like, you guys understand there's 14 games left at most. At most. If you do this right, you might have less than 10 games left. If you do this right.
Or if you do it wrong.
Or if you do it wrong. If you do it wrong, sure. Yeah, there's also that possibility. But I'm going to skew positive on this side and say, you guys do what you're supposed to do. You have 10 games potentially. Okay, fine, I'll give you 11, 12. But that's it. That's all it should be left. If you just try and do it well, your season is over regardless. Hoist a trophy, have a parade, not a parade. Just do all of the things you're supposed to do better and for 48 minutes. But Joe Mazzulla seems extraordinarily anxious to ditch this double big lineup. I mean, as anxious as I've seen anybody. It's funny being in that scrum and watching him, how you can see that bile accumulating in his mouth when talking about the double big lineup. Let's talk about that next. First, let's talk about bird dogs. Bird dogs are shorts that are comfortable, that are versatile. Think about them as that versatile wing that everybody's looking for. Maybe a Jaylen Brown, maybe a Jayson Tatum of shorts, because they come with the inner lining that double as underwear, so you can wear them just around. You just throw them on when you wake up in the morning and off you go. You can jump into the pool with them. They've already got the lining in there. The fabric dries off after you jump out of the pool. Think about this. You can go to a meeting in the morning, take a long lunch, find a pool, jump in that, cool off, jump out, your shorts dry off, you put your shirt back on, you go back to work. No one is the wiser, and that's what the beauty of bird dogs are. Plus, they make your legs look great. Fellas, we all want to show off a little leg. Come on, be real. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Enter the promo code LockedOnNBA. Not only are you going to get a great deal on these bird dogs, you get a free Yeti-style tumbler with every order. You can go and wear these great-looking shorts to work, on a date, to play golf. I mean, you got to keep them clean, but if you're neat, you got these things all day long. No one will know the difference except for you, because you're going to feel comfortable and they're going to look awesome. birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Promo code LockedOnNBA. You get your bird dogs. You get your Yeti style tumbler with every order. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out Locked On Heat. They've got a lot to say. You got to check in with the enemy. You got to. So check them out. Watch them on YouTube. I know they've got a lot of things to say. I'm sure they got some shots directed my way. Go to their YouTube page. Defend the Celtics' honor. Defend my honor, please. Please. All right, let's bring Tom Westerholm back in.
He calls
at the team shoot around on Thursday, Joe Mazzulla was asked, hey, what did you like about that double big lineup? And he says, that's a good question. And I paused there. If anybody's got their silence turned off on their apps or anything like that, that was like a 2-second pause in there. He's when he's asked, hey, what did you think about this? Simple, straightforward question. He goes, that's a good question. Newsflash. He expletive deleted, hates it. He hates it. He hates the double big lineup. I cannot, he will never say it, but he hates the spacing. He hates what it does to the offense. He hates it because it's one more guy on the floor that cannot shoot a three. And he hates having guys on the floor that do not shoot threes. So I feel like Joe Mazzulla is just itching to get Derek White back in the lineup, go 5 out and say, you know what? We're just going to space everything out. This is a series where we can do that. As much as you say, yeah, Rob he can work. You can also say Rob off the bench. put him up against Zeller, like, oh my God, like just destroy Zeller. Sure, totally makes sense. I'm not saying that Joe is wrong, but I'm also saying, like, I'm not so sure that I'm gonna bust out that adjustment right away in game 2. I don't think you need to, but whatever. I just feel like Joe is going to take the first opportunity to blow up that starting lineup and put Derek White back in there.
I think you're probably right, especially when you look at the actual quote here, right? Well, you had the 2-second pause, and then it goes like I said, I thought each lineup presented things that did well. Like he can't even like after a 2-second pause, he still can't come up with something nice to say about the big lineup. He can come up with nice things to say about the players in the double big lineup, right? Like then he said, Rob was really good, like got offensive rebounds, all that kind of stuff. Like, so he gave the guys involved their credit, but yeah, I mean, like the thing about this series, right, is that both like from a talent like on the court standpoint, both the double big lineup and the Derek White starting lineup should be pretty good. Like the Heat have a lot of targets, and I like the Celtics, like whether they were not playing that hard or whether they were, like a couple of the Celtics kind of balked at the idea of saying they had kind of a game 7 hangover. Like whether they were just kind of shocked to be playing a team that actually kind of belongs at this stage in the playoffs, like after facing the Hawks and the 76ers, whether they were kind of struggling against a team that they actually respect. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I just think I'm with you. I think that the double big lineup could still work. The Celtics have the personnel to like play well with or without it. Like either way, they have more good players than the Heat. I feel like, how whether that manifests or not, whether I'm wrong or not, I guess we'll see. But like, I don't think it should make that much difference. Like Derek White should work in the starting lineup. Rob Williams should work in the starting lineup. And if Mazzulla clearly has a preference, so yeah, I mean, go for it, man. But like I don't know, that double big lineup was really good. Like that should work too. Like,
yeah, I feel like obviously either way the Celtics, you're right. I think either way the Celtics go, it's fine. And we've kind of struggled to see the full Derek White experience the way we've seen it in the regular season. And you know what? If Derek White checks one of the perimeter guys, like who would you rather switch onto Jimmy Butler? Rob, who is going to be if he's going to play the way he played against Jimmy Butler in that no. I don't want Rob out there either. I'd rather have the all defensive team guard that can maybe use his quick hands and swipe down on the ball and understand, maybe block a shot, which he did in this game, I think, right? He had he did not have a block. It went down as a steal. I can never tell sometimes with Derek White because
they're tough
those swipe downs sometimes can be steals, but they go down as blocks.
Yeah.
But anyway,
one other option that you're not considering that Joe Mazzulla would like you to consider is Payton Pritchard on Jimmy Butler.
I didn't hate the Payton Pritchard minutes. I really didn't, and he was only a -3. So it's Jimmy Butler hit one tough shot on him and he turned to the crowd and it was like, oh, because the crowd. This was a great moment because the crowd was like. Payton was defending pretty well, pretty strong.
Yeah, he was right there. Yeah,
and I think Jimmy, did he miss a shot and get it back, or did the ball get swiped away and he got it back? Something like that happened. It looked like it was a stop, and the crowd was starting to get into it because like, oh, Payton's shutting down Jimmy Butler. Here we go. And then Butler hit the shot and he turned to the crowd and he said something and it was like, all right, let's not get too crazy here.
Also, though, like the crowd getting excited for Payton Pritchard guarding Jimmy Butler is kind of like a quarterback like hanging out his wide receiver over the middle and just like he gets don't do that to Payton Pritchard. Like don't wind up Jimmy Butler when he's trying to guard him. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. But I didn't think Pritchard played poorly. He just was kind of like, I think if Pritchard's on the floor then he's got to be noticeable.
Yeah.
The worst,
Agreed.
if he's not noticeable on the floor, then he's bad, right? And I'm not saying he's playing poor. Like even if he's just like out there and fine, that's bad.
Yep.
Because then what are we doing? Then we just I'd rather have Sam Hauser out there. Those minutes need to be difference making minutes. Those almost 12 minutes need to be like, okay, we're extending our rotation out to 8.
Mm-hmm.
That 8th person needs to be making some sort of difference. He can't just be fine. So that brings us to the question I asked about Grant Williams. And I said, hey, Grant Williams has played well against Miami. I know everybody's written a story about the Bam Adebayo, Grant Williams long history. Grant seems to do well against Bam. He has and again, Joe Mazzulla, non-committal, says we have a plan to use the depth we need in order to give us the lineups we think can really help us. And obviously in the playoffs, when minutes are expanding, you look to play 7 or 8 guys throughout. And I think at the start, Payton gave us an opportunity with his shooting, his playmaking, his pick and roll defense. And like we said before, Grant is always going to be ready, and we've built a lot of versatility in our lineup where we can go a lot of different ways. We trust that anybody we call on will be ready, a.k.a. Grant's not playing. Right? Yep. Like, there's two things that I can, without him saying it, can infer. That double big lineup is, even if it starts game 2, it's not long. It better work right away in game 2, or else we're not going to see it again. And Grant Williams is not playing. He's just not. I don't know. Honestly, I have never seen a guy be as important as Grant Williams to a team's success and then suddenly fall off for, I don't want to say minimal reason, but it's not like he flat out sucked.
No.
He's just, all of a sudden, just Joe Mazzulla has said, nah, I don't like this guy. I don't like playing this guy. So this is the absolute, when you put DNP coach's decision, emphasize, bold, underline that CD, because this is a bold coach's decision. The boldest decision that Joe Mazzulla is making, because Grant seems like he would be an extraordinarily useful guy in the playoffs when you need to get a few minutes from somebody that has strength, that has shown that he can switch, and has one of the best corner 3-point shooters in the NBA. What is going on here?
I mean, one theory would just be that the matchups kind of broke wrong for Grant when, especially when you consider, the money that he's trying to make this offseason. Like, he could have really used a playoffs that included Giannis Antetokounmpo, that included maybe a little Kevin Durant, right? Like, we saw Grant really do well against Kevin Durant. Yep. Like, some of these matchups that Grant would really do well on. Like, I don't know that Grant versus Jimmy Butler would go particularly well. Like Jimmy's just a different kind of player. And Grant's big thing, the thing that made him so valuable last year was Grant against stars. Like, Grant just going in there. You don't care if he picks up a couple of fouls. You don't that's fine. He's not that integral to the Celtics' success or failure. And then Grant can play really free and can defend really hard and, can be really annoying for the stars. And Embiid, he tried a little bit against Embiid, but Embiid's just so tall. There's only so much you can do. Nobody really on the Hawks is that guy for Grant to go out and bother. And then, you got Jimmy Butler instead of Giannis. If things had gone according to if things had gone chalk, this would have been a huge series for Grant Williams, because he would have been guarding Giannis, and we would have all been, writing stories about Grant's going to get a bunch of money this offseason and all this stuff. But as it is, it's just kind of yeesh.
Yeah, but I don't know that he would have got guarded Giannis. I just don't know that he would have. Like, you like to say he would have. Yeah, so do I. Yeah. But I also thought he would have guarded Bam Adebayo some. And I also thought he would have gotten more minutes against Philly. But he had that game 5 where he did. Okay, so game 5, he had 2 really outrageously bad fouls, right? Like, he was trying to be physical, but he got cartoonishly into Joel Embiid's chest. And he was trying to slap at Joel Embiid's hand, and Embiid kind of like rose up and drew the foul. But at the same time, I saw how Al Horford was guarding Embiid, and he was doing the exact same thing. He was just doing it better.
Right.
You know, like, but I don't know, man. I feel like Grant, we spent half the season on Twitter talking about, oh my God, Grant is earning $20 million. Oh my God. That was seriously from January, from September to January, October to January. Twitter was full of Rob. They should have signed. They should have signed Grant. They should have just given him the extension. They're going to regret it. He's playing above. He's going to earn so much money. Look at how he's playing. How do you go from that to this? I just don't understand how you go from that to this. And I just feel like it comes down to Joe Mazzulla just doesn't like Grant's game, and another coach would give him more of an opportunity and would let him play through some of those things.
Yeah.
It just that just doesn't make sense, especially because of his 3-point shooting. Why wouldn't Joe Mazzulla, 3-point addict, want another 40% 3-point shooter out there? I mean, you're going a different direction. You're going Payton Pritchard? Really? I mean, I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
The Pritchard, that's why I didn't really like the Pritchard thing. Like, I think Hauser and Grant are just more useful players. Like, why not try them? Like, why are we why are you trying to throw a curveball right now? You could just throw it over the plate, man. Like, put one of your good ones in.
Yeah.
Not that Pritchard's bad, just like,
but like, he's not bad, but obviously, Grant is better and bigger and a better defender. And
more versatile, like all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it could just be as simple as get Jayson Tatum the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a thing. Could be a thing. Now, 0 for 0 in the fourth quarter is interesting. It's really interesting that all of a sudden, like, how many games have we been saying, get Jaylen Brown the ball more in the fourth quarter? And Jaylen Brown goes 3 for 7 and Jayson Tatum goes 0 for 0. We're like, oh, whoa. We didn't mean that much. Let's be realistic here. And it's more that, Brogden had three field goal attempts. Derek White had 2. He made both. I mean, those guys were 4 or 5, so I guess I shouldn't say anything there. The fact is that the Celtics had 15 shots in the fourth quarter. Maybe they should have gotten up more shots. And Tatum did have 3 turnovers, and he did have 6 free throw attempts.
Yeah.
So those are 3. We can say those are 3 shots that he took that didn't go down. So he still had 6 points in the fourth quarter. Not a typical Tatum fourth quarter, but if he doesn't turn the ball over 3 times and those become 3 shots,
exactly, then it could have been 6. I mean? Yeah, exactly.
And if he hits a couple of those, then he has a 10-point fourth quarter, and that's like, oh well, 10-point fourth quarter is really good. So there's a little bit of a oh my God, what's Tatum doing? Why is he so passive in the fourth quarter? But also, Tatum needs to be better. He had 2 travels and a brutal turnover. Jimmy Butler had 6 steals in this game. I think he worked for 2 of them. The other 4 were just like, oh, okay. It's like finding a 20 in your pocket. Like, oh, this is awesome.
It's like, here's the thing. If a player gets 6 steals in a game, the other team helped him out, right? Like, Jimmy Butler is a menace. Like, he's really good. He's a really good at doing the free safety thing. But like, just if you're doing really well, 2 or 3 steals is a really good game. 6 is like a good game, and the other team was like, here you go.
Yeah, seriously. So did Tatum need to take a few more shots? Sure. The Celtics need to find openings for Tatum and for Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown had 2 turnovers. Again, here we are in the fourth quarter of a playoff loss, and Tatum and Brown combined for 5 turnovers.
Brutal. Yep.
It's been a year, and in a lot of ways, this team is different. In a lot of ways, this team is better. But damn it, here we are in the fourth quarter, a year later, and Tatum and Brown are committing crucial fourth quarter turnovers, and the Celtics are losing a playoff game. To the Heat. That can't happen. And they won the fourth quarter, 25-20. The problem is that they were down, 12 going into that fourth quarter? But they had opportunities. I said last night in the podcast, there's a 3-minute stretch where the Heat didn't score for 3 full minutes, and Boston only took 5 points off the. That's the 5-point difference right there. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I get that Tatum is the focal point of the defense, and you're going to throw multiple guys at him. But just because he gives up the ball when they run 2 at him and he accepts the double team, it doesn't mean that you don't try to get him the ball back. And the same thing with Jaylen, and the same when you got a star player, okay, give up the ball. Let's play with an advantage. Then go move. Then somebody set a back screen on one of those double team guy and let him kind of break free and get a cut. And maybe it's just a give and go, a basic basketball play, a give and go. Just get the ball back. I mean, I don't know, Tom. I just feel like sometimes these guys don't make the basic basketball plays, and it should be a lot simpler than what they're making it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the disconnects is when you see the way Tatum is playing. It's like, okay, Jaylen had all these shots. That's a good thing. You want Jaylen Brown to have shots. Like he's an excellent basketball player, but you really want to see part of that, if not not all of it, but if you want to see part of that being okay, 2 people went at Tatum. Right, like Tatum got the ball, he got double teamed, and then he passed out of it, and then it worked its way around, and then the Celtics got a good shot. That's the Celtics offense at its best, and that's kind of simple Celtics offense at its best. It's just okay, either Tatum's gonna beat his guy, or he's gonna get double teamed, and then he's gonna move it, and then it just whips around. Like you said, simple. That's just pass, bucket, pass, dribble, bucket. That's just easy stuff, and I just obviously we didn't see that. We saw, instead of pass, we saw pass turnover, and that is, that's you combine those 5 turnovers, right? By those 2 in the playoff in the fourth quarter, with the fact that the Celtics lost by 7 and missed 7 free throws, and it's add in the Heat shot better than 50% from 3. It's you can see all kinds of things smoothing themselves out next game and just being a little more normal. But the larger point just being that the Celtics once again put their backs right up against the wall and are like, okay, you really don't want to go back down to Miami down 2-0. So you got to win this game, and here we are yet again.
It's funny that Rob, after the film session, he comes out and is looking at that film and all the stuff that you said earlier. And basically he was let me see if I can read the quote from him, because it was God, where is that quote? But basically he said, we can't keep doing this. I can speak from personal experience that he sounded like a guy who had too much to drink the night before. He had sounded like a guy who woke up with a massive, massive hangover and was shown, somebody showed, do you remember what you did last night? No, what? And someone pulled out a phone and showed him, and he's like, oh God. Oh God. Oh. Put your hands on your knees and be like, I can't keep living this way. I just can't. What am I doing to myself? He had that kind of energy when it came to we're going to respond, but we can't keep having it like this. We can't keep relying on our backs to be against the wall. We got to come out and do it. So it's very kind of like that feeling. Like I said, Rob's the most honest guy there.
Yeah.
And so for him to kind of have that feeling where he's when he's upbeat, you can tell he's smiling, he's laughing. Like you can tell when he's happy, you can tell when he's just kind of like down. And for him to come fresh out of that film session and be as down as he was, it just says a lot that these guys are. I don't know why they keep doing it, and I honestly don't think they understand why they fall back into some of these habits.
Yeah.
It's right here. That shouldn't be the only time that we respond. That's what we're trying to get out of that habit. It's all about effort, man. Effort and purpose, starting the game right, playing the game right the whole way. We're trying to shake that bad habit.
Yep.
I asked Jaylen that last night. You look at these, it just keeps happening. It just keeps happening. At what point do you break the habit?
Right. Because this is a danger. Like I know everybody knows this. But this is a dangerous game that you play because, let's say you win. Let's just say that you're the best team ever with your back up against the wall. Let's say you win 80% of your games. Obviously hard to quantify, but
sure.
Let's say you win 80% of your games with the back up against the wall. That leaves 20 that you don't.
Yeah.
Which means that you might lose a game with your back up against the wall. Right. The Celtics have they respond very, very well. Game 6, Game 7, huge games. Just, clench your fists and just ride it out. Big wins. Good job. But this is that again. Now you have to clench your fists again. And at some point, I don't know, you just relying on that is that's
tough. It's tough to go into that well.
Business, man. It's
tough to go into that well over and over and over again. Because at some point, like in the finals, that well runs dry.
Right, because you keep thinking that you can go back to that well.
Yeah.
And at some point, you get complacent about knowing that you're not going to be complacent at the right time. That's, man, what a tough line to walk. You can't do that for an entire playoff run.
Right. Because at some point, waking up hungover is going to cost you a day at work and you're going to get fired from your job.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Look, I don't think Miami could play much better than 123 points on 54% shooting, 51.5% from three. I just don't think that they can play better than that. Now, maybe
they might if the Celtics keep helping off the strong side the way.
Sure. I mean, I don't understand why they keep doing that, but god damn,
I just
helping off the strong side. I mean, honestly, anyway.
As a shooter, it's one of my favorite things.
Oh, sure, yeah. Leave me alone, one pass away. Love it. But now the numbers might shift a little bit. Maybe Gabe Vincent doesn't have 15, maybe he has 5, but Caleb Martin has 20 and Kyle Lowry has something like that. The numbers can change around. Different guys can have different games, but just generally speaking, 123 points on better than 50, 50 and 70, almost 80% free throw shooting is outrageous shooting numbers. The true shooting percentage is through the roof. In fact, true shooting percentage is 65.9. It's just ridiculous that they had that level of shooting. And the Celtics had almost 62% true shooting, so they weren't that far off. But point is, this is as good as Miami's going to play. And maybe they can duplicate this 4 times. I'm not saying they can't. But Boston can point to very easy, correctable mistakes to say, okay, you guys can shoot 54% and 51.5% from 3, but instead of 85 shots, you're going to get 79 because we're not going to turn it over 6 of those times, right? We're going to clean up those turnovers. And that matters. So even if the percentages are correct and the percentages are sustainable, which I don't think they are.
50% is not. I'm sorry.
Not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But for any offense, much less an offense that has struggled sometimes like Miami's.
Much less the 21st true shooting percentage in the NBA during the regular season. Yeah.
Right. So, but let's give it to them.
Sure.
Let's give it to them and say, okay, maybe you will shoot 54% for the series. Hey, they shot well against Milwaukee. They shot their way past Milwaukee. So let's just give it to them. don't turn the ball over as much. Now you're getting 80 shots, 79 shots. So clean up those 5 turnovers. Well, those 5 shots, if a couple of them are 3-pointers, now it's not really 123 points. Right. Now it's
right.
Even if you're shooting well, now it's down to 115 or so.
Yep.
All right. Well, now you win that game just right away. Right away, you're to 116. Everything being the same, just not the same, not those turnovers. Even if you miss all of those shots and you don't give those shots to Miami, that's a chance to win that game. Now you start to clean up some of the other stuff. Maybe you start running some better offense. Maybe you start finding a way to get yourself, instead of 81 shots, you're getting yourself the 85, 86, 87 shots. And if the Celtics can keep shooting the way they're shooting, and they shot 34.5% from 3, well, now the Celtics can start piling up to 120 points. It's very easy to look at game 1 and say, clean up just the correctable stuff. Boston can easily get themselves up to 125 points.
Absolutely.
Just the simple correctable stuff. You take away some of the opportunities, some of the fouls, right? Some of the turnovers. You can get Miami down to 110 to 112 to 115. You can get yourself a 10-point win if everything goes exactly the same, just by cleaning up some crap. So the Celtics, I still like, losing game 1 is never really a huge issue with this team, as long as they come out in game 2 and clean things up. I'm not looking for major adjustments.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm looking for a little bit more Grant Williams.
Yeah.
But okay. But even if you don't, not even looking for major adjustments, clean some of this stuff up, right? And you're going to be okay. But it's going to take that full 48 minutes. Can't keep playing with your backs up against the wall. For God's sakes, at some point, this message has to get through to them.
Like game 1, it would have taken 43 minutes, right? Like just fall apart for 5 minutes instead of 12 in the third quarter, and you probably win that game. Like,
right?
Just don't fall apart for an entire quarter. Like, don't spot them at a 21-point advantage in a quarter, and you're right there.
What an outrageous stretch that was. And I know that there's a lot of talk about the timeout. Okay, I would have called a timeout, right? Definitely. I would have called a timeout at the beginning of the third quarter.
And then Spo had to make him look extra bad by calling a timeout right away in the fourth. It was just like, oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
Right. But also, though, people don't remember, or people easily forget, that in the when the Celtics pulled away from the Sixers, how many timeouts did Doc Rivers call?
Yep.
When the Celtics were pulling away from he called timeout after timeout after timeout after timeout. He called a bunch of them. None of them worked. But no one gives a damn about all the timeouts that Doc Rivers called that didn't work. Right. They give a damn about the one that Spo called that did work.
Right.
Right.
And it only kind of worked. The Celtics won that quarter. They got a ton of stops that quarter. Like,
yes. Right. Like I would have called a timeout to start the third, because sometimes you got to like my timeout to start the third quarter, about like 3 minutes in, would have just been I'm not drawing up a play. I'm sitting there and I'm yelling at you guys for just wake the hell up. Like, so all the language, all the stuff, you can't use any of this mic'd up footage. It just would have been just going off and getting up into people's faces and saying, do you actually care about winning this game and winning a championship? Do you even care that you're giving this away and challenging these guys? Joe, I don't know how much he's into that, but that's not his style. He
did throw a clipboard yesterday.
He did lightly toss a clipboard.
He did drop a clipboard on Grant Williams' feet yesterday.
It did slip out of his hands, and no, he did actually throw it, but gently. But regardless, my approach would have been different. But I still buy into Marcus Smart and what Malcolm Brogdon said. Like, Marcus was he when he said, yeah, Joe could have called a timeout, but then what? We could have come out and played the exact same way.
Yep.
Yep.
I thought that was a noteworthy quote. Yep.
Like, Marcus told you guys everything you need to know about that. Yep. That was a player mentality thing. The players, I don't get it. Nobody understands it. I'm listening to everybody else on their podcast. I'm listening to Brian Robb on Winning Plays. I'm listening to Anything is Potable. I'm listening to NBC. I'm listening to Forsberg. I'm listening to Scal talk. I'm listening to everybody. Everybody's confused. No one understands what is happening with this team. No one gets it. I'm looking around for somebody to have an answer. No one understands why they do this. And I don't think, you can get Red Auerbach, reincarnated on that bench. And I don't know if he gets through to these guys sometimes. But if you just, somebody out there, if any of the family members are listening, if somebody's cousin is listening to the podcast, tell them we know that they're good enough to win a championship.
Absolutely.
If you, honestly, I swear to God, I'm like, if you guys actually give maximum effort, you can win this series in I don't know if you're going to win 4 in a row.
Absolutely, you could with maximum effort from this team.
Sure,
absolutely,
you could. If you're worried about rest, if you're worried about anything, just mow teams down. We know you're capable of doing it. Go get your few days off, get your rest, win a championship. Let's just go get this championship. It's right there for you. It's right there. Why don't you want it? Why don't you want this championship? And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Of course we want the championship. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like you want
the clipboard.
I don't have a clipboard to use as a prop. But honestly, does it look like it to anybody? Doesn't look like it to me. It looks like they sort of want it. Sounds like it'd be cool. Could Instagram themselves with hey, it'd be great for the gram with the photo of the trophy, but we're cool. I don't know. I don't get it. Play hard and no other adjustments necessary. Play hard and you got it. I don't know. Anyway, all right. I guess we're going to wrap it up there.
Yeah. Okay.
I got nothing else to say. I'm sweating while podcasting. That's the level of effort. That's maximum podcasting effort, Tom. That's 48 minutes of podcasting. And I'm not even joking. We are at 48 minutes right now.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, and this is the recipe, right? We blew Locked On Heat out of the water.
That's right.
Blew them out. All you got to do, maximum effort.
Maximum effort for 48 minutes. That's what we did on this podcast. Setting the example, Tom.
It's a 20-point win.
All right, I'm subbing Tom out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for subscribing. If you're a new listener and you've made it all the way to this point, appreciate you very much. If you're one of my bosses at the Locked On Podcast Network and you're still listening at this point, I apologize greatly. Sorry, got carried away. But, hey, sometimes you got to send a message. That's what we do here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. So subscribe. And I would love all you regular listeners, you everyday listeners, if you share the podcast. Hey, listen to the show. Listen to the game. If you can't watch the game, listen to it on the SiriusXM app. Grandy and Max, the home call is on the SiriusXM app. So if you got SiriusXM, you can listen to it there. If you don't, it's a great way to not have to listen to Reggie Miller. So download that SiriusXM app, listen to the home radio call, and have some fun with that. Share the podcast, though. Tell your friends and family that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.